these are the topics we mostly discuss. It's the, you know, honor concept in the families towards especially the girls, and then it's terrorism, also the radicalization. What I don't use the word radicalization because I use the word jihadism, and this is of course because mainstream Islam has jihad as a concept fully integrated within mainstream Islam. And you have different Islamists who have different approaches to how to further Islam, and you have overall two groups: the Salafis, who are the jihadists mostly.
They're honest.
They're honest, and they say we have jihad and we want to do jihad against you. We want to kill you, and they're honest. You know, Al Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, al-Baghdadi, they're very honest. And at the other front, you have mostly the Brotherhood as the biggest, maybe, and Iran and Saudi Arabia. They don't have their goal is the same: Sharia law and a caliphate, an Islamic state that is growing, and they want power. But the Muslim Brotherhood and Iran and Saudi Arabia and so on, they have a different strategy. They don't want to use jihad to further Islam. They want to use political organization and mobilizing people, and you know, and they're more dishonest. They don't tell us the truth. They are double-tongued. You probably have this in Norway as well, and yeah. So actually, they are more tricky, and they're also more dangerous because a lot of Westerners are naive and believe what they say. And when I ask them, but you know that she just said the other thing as well. So why do you think that is? Why do you think she says, okay, I do believe in executions, but at the same time, I really don't want to talk about it. I'm for democracy. So why do you think that is? It's of course because they're double-tongued, and this has been proved again and again. You saw the Moskéerne bag sløret, a documentary that was made in Denmark a couple of years ago, and this is not the first time it has been revealed that these Islamists lie to us. They say one thing when they meet with our politicians, and they behind closed doors say something else.
This dishonesty that we are experiencing more and more from both the Muslim organizations and the politicians and the media. Do you see how this is, why this is happening? Do you have an opinion about that?
Yes, and I don't think, and I have been talking to a lot of politicians in Denmark, also at minister level, when we had a right-wing government, and it's because Danish politicians, even though they can see the problems, they don't fully understand what is going on. So, and for instance, this Muslim Brotherhood, this double tongue, they are very much active and trying to convince the politicians all the time that if you go out and criticize Islam, the Salafis will win, you know, the jihadists will win. So don't criticize Islam openly. You can say you're for democracy and we're for democracy, we'll help you. And this creates an atmosphere where politicians, Westerners who are not Muslims, who are used to talking openly about anything, they self-censor. They start self-censoring on a political level, but also on on a ministry level. For instance, when they have these reports, writing reports about social control or terrorism, they start to self-censor, and they, for instance, in page 153, write And all of the women we have talked to say that it is religion that is being used against us. But nothing about Islam is really mentioned in the conclusion. And this is, of course, and even the wordings, the social control, it's mostly about, and the problem is Muslim honor culture and Muslim suppression of women. That's what we are talking about. This is reality. But now, for instance, they have tried to say, we also have some Christian groups that have these problems. And of course, you have other groups in our society, in Western societies, that are saying to their women, don't go with miniskirt and so on. But it's nothing compared to what is going on in Muslim families, and all of this is very taboo, and it's not discussed, and it's because of the influence that these double-tongued Islamists have, because they come in and say, we are Muslims, we don't want jihad, we are good, we are the ones you should trust. Let us tell you what to say. Let us tell you how to write your report, and this is why.
But almost like you writing in your book, not exactly like this, but like I'm talking. You say, if we give more freedom to these Muslims, dishonest Muslims, and then we will see how honest they can be, because we have some restrictions in the West, so they don't say the truth to you. But when we watch, for example, the videos from imams from Jordan, Saudi Arabia, or Qatar, they are not afraid. They say right out what is Islam. So a lot of things is bothering me in the West, because of I'm all time thinking why the left, why the especially left have to do that to us, because of you was a socialist. You write in your book too that your background, your father's background, and you are active in the Enhedslisten. It's like a the red in Norway. But you left them, and you give many examples there showing their hypocrisy. Can you?
I grew up with my father being a communist. He has also left his party now and is more moderate now. But I grew up with a lot of talk about Marxism and so on, and what I felt attracted to as a young socialist was freedom for homosexuals, sexual freedom, the fighting for women's rights, and so on. And of course, I was from Iran. I saw what had happened in Iran, so I was very critical of religion. And the more I got to know about, because I came from Iran, and I thought that everybody living in the West with a Muslim background, no matter if they were Muslims or not, they were of course against Iran and Sharia law and the what the kind of Islam that was back in Iran was representing. But then I found out that no, you have children here being brought up who say, I'm not allowed to look in the eyes of boys in school. These were my friends. I was like, what is going on? Or I am not allowed to have, cooperation in school when we're working on a project. I'm not allowed really to work with a boy in my class. And they were talking about forced marriages, and I didn't understand it. It took me many years to understand what was going on, because I was telling myself, no, this is just one case. This can't be the reality. But reality was that every person with Muslim background in the West was not critical of Islam and critical of the kind of Islam that I had experienced. And I found out, the Islam that is back in Iran is kind of the same Islam that they're talking about. And even though they're Turkish or Palestinian or Somali or, and then I started reading a lot about what does the Muslim Brotherhood say, what does Al-Qaeda say, what does Erdogan say, or does all of these different Islamists? What do they say? Do they say the same things? And yes, and it all comes back to the literalist approach to the holy book of Muslims, the Quran and the Hadith and Sirah, the biography and the teachings about the Prophet of Islam. So all of these, even though they hate each other sometimes and they want to kill each other, for instance, this Sunni Shia war going on now in Syria and Iraq and in Yemen, they are Muslims killing each other because of a small disagreement about who got the power after the death of the Prophet. This is mainly the biggest, Sunni Shia difference. Theologically, they're almost the same, and they are killing each other because of this difference. And then it's hard for Westerners to understand that even though they have differences inside of that whole umbrella called Islam, the theology and their, the problems with human rights, with democracy, with women's rights, homosexuals, hating Jews, wanting to kill Jews, and so on. This is mainstream theology. And if you don't criticize this, of course, you can have a situation where we are, and of course you can have a situation where the Islamists, enjoy this peaceful freedom to recruit more people and radicalize or jihad, to fill people's head with jihadi talk, and we will have more terrorism. I mean, if we want to fight and have a more modern approach to Islam, we have to criticize Islam. And I think that we will have, I think that at one point we will have more criticism, and I think you guys and what I'm doing and what you're doing is paving the way for, inshallah, for more criticism to be allowed. Also, for instance, I think that Muslim countries, they won't allow this discussion, but then now they have the internet and they can watch what we were talking about.
Islam is collapsing.
I hope so.
Yeah, but it takes time because of the majority of the West politicians and media not supporting the critics.
Yes.
They are busy with the hijabists. They are busy with the imam. This is the problem.
And this is also the case because I also work sometimes with Rahil, Rahil Reza, and Shirin Ghodowsi.
I'm critical to them.
Yeah, I know. And I don't understand where they are coming from, because these are the reformists that I was talking about earlier. I don't see where they're coming from, because I can't see how you can take the Quran and then be a Muslim, and because I'm an atheist and I don't have any way of imagining a reform of Islam, but I won't say that it will never happen. I hope it happens. I hope that Rahil and Shireen and what is the guy's name? Zudi Jasser. Yeah, Zudi Jasser. That they have all. I wish them luck. I want them to get this religion reformed really, but they meet the same from liberals and left wing. They're called racist. A person who's saying I want to reform my religion in the West because my religion has problems. They're told you're racist, you are bigoted against Muslims, and so on.
Like Majid Nawaz, you mentioned in your book.
Majid Nawaz. They're called kuffar by Western politicians. They're called you're pretending to be Muslim by Western politicians. They say you're really a racist. Mostly left-wing politicians. But even like on the right, a lot of politicians, at least in Denmark and also in the United States, you have people also in the Conservative Party, in the Republican Party, who don't understand what is going on and who are, and this is also something that is, you have to be respectful of other people's religion and don't criticize. And criticism of religion is has nothing to do with racism. It has absolutely, you can be as critical as you want of religions, and it has nothing to do with being a racist. Yeah.
I don't really agree with that anymore, because the way that I see our media is behaving right now, the socialists, they are merging together with Islamists. They are merging together with Islam. Because what you are going through in Denmark, and what we have seen has been going on in different countries in Europe right now, especially in England lately, is a prosecution of real journalism. If you are telling the truth, you are opposing the media that is trying to define a new religion. And if you are a sinner in their eyes, they are going to make sure that you don't get to talk, you don't get to dirty the name of the religion they are creating. And religion doesn't start with you follow one person, like they say in the stories. It starts with you just get too afraid to tell the truth. You just start obeying. And you start obeying because they don't leave you any choice. So yeah, we have to keep staying strong and fight it all we can, because the way I grew up watching Muslims, either if they were jihadis or they were the mainstream, they were talking always about the Muslims taking over the world, just like it says in the Quran, as if you were talking about your football team going to win the next match. And they don't know if they're going to win, maybe they will lose, but they are very energized about it and they are hoping they will. And when they don't get a team fighting against them whatsoever, they were playing alone, they're going to win. So we have to team up and actually give them a fight there. But the media is liking Islamic censorship because it is benefiting them. It's benefiting them without being opposed by people like us. So.
So you guys, for instance, you don't get invited into the TV and.
Yeah, but I don't care. I don't care. I don't
get
invited.
Yeah.
I always find my friends, you know. So I don't care if I am not invited to those parties.
But I mean, this is a problem, of course,
because we
for
still
a free democracy.
Right now, we need to stimulate our minds by conversation, and we are being blocked out of social media. We are kicked out of Facebook. We are kicked out of YouTube. We are removed from accessing our own friends.
Yes.
And you are even being threatened in your own home. They want to take your child away. I mean, how long will you fight? You know? Yeah. I mean, they put Tommy Robinson in jail. So it's
very scary.
It's very scary. It's like you are in a Muslim country, because they are putting journalists in jail all the time in Muslim countries. Right in Turkey right now, no one thought that was going to happen. And our socialists, they have just embraced this. They are loving it, and I don't think we can have a conversation with them.
Yeah, and I don't think even it's only the socialists, because as I told you, the right-wing parties also, they are being influenced by because
they don't want to be put in the sinner box either.
Yeah, I also write about this in the book. Politicians or media, they don't find us authentic. They don't. We are not real Muslims. We are ex-Muslims. That's weird. Even Muslims who want to, confront Islamists and so on, they're not authentic enough. You have to have a beard or hijab. Then you are, this is very exciting. This is exotic. This is, this is something we can work with. When I was a socialist and a member of the Innus list, and a woman with a hijab, Asma Abdul Hamid, she entered the party, and the politicians from my party, from the left-wing socialist party, they would say, she's a real was Muslim. And this is the reason why Danish people don't like her. Because she's a real Muslim. So actually a left-wing socialist man was defining who is a real Muslim. And a real Muslim is as far away as somebody who looks like myself. So I'm embracing something that is far away from myself, but you don't even know what it is. And I was in the party and I saw everything. After a few months, people started to say, "Who knows her? Who knows? Did you talk to her before she got she became a candidate for our party?" Nobody knew what she was. Her opinions were. She was Asma Abdul Hamid with the hijab. She was just there because she had a hijab and because the right wing hated her. So therefore, she was our candidate and she got to the top. And we actually, when we found out that she was, saying really weird stuff about execution and
this was the woman who say that I look in the world with my Islamic glasses.
Yeah. And all of this was, of course, more and more problematic. And I was in the board, on the board of that party at that time. And we decided after some months to say, okay, we cannot continue having her as our candidate because we cannot defend her in the media anymore. And we were about to actually have an extraordinary congress to get rid of her as a candidate. But then we had the election, and because of that debate closed because then she didn't get elected, and the party just wanted peace because the party was afraid of, getting split into pieces because people would be disagreeing upon this subject. And I was more and more critical of what was going on in my own party, and
ژاله, I have to say one thing for clarifying. I'm not against left or right, or even I hate actually left and right discussion in an Islamic topic or reform Islam or whatever you call it. But I feel something's forcing me to mention the leftist or the regressive left, Islamo left, because something's problem with them. I don't understand.
Yeah.
We are seeing many little girls going with the hijab from even 6 years to the 9 to the 17. And no one cares in the West. And these girls have no same rights such as the Western little girls have. Not the teacher, not the politicians, like this is normal.
Yeah.
This is not normal.
And
this is social control.
Yeah.
It starts there.
Yeah.
And who are behind this? Often the leftists.
Yeah. And
so I just want to clarify, this is not about left, but I can't stand. When I read your book, I get more angry to the left. Why? Because we are talking about you were in the road, and in 2010 you were threatened and kicked out of an Islamic meeting in Nuremberg.
Yeah.
The police had to escort you because of the threats and excited mood. Your party, Enhedslisten, was worried, and the board felt that you should apologize to Muslims and Nuremberg.
Yeah. Because I had went to the media. Because I had went to the media and told what had happened to me, I should apologize because I made Nuremberg look bad.
Nuremberg is bad. I saw earlier today one news, one of my friends showed me. It's writing like this. All writing saying one Swedish get arrested because of terror planning in Nuremberg, and later you read there Swedish who have the Swedish passport.
Yeah,
it's not Swedish, but Swedish passport. And later you read down another Swedish they are looking for. So I get confused. Is it Swedish or not Swedish? Or why don't you say the truth? Give us some information. Our media, like alternative media, like Document, like Reset, like Horus in Norway, they are doing very good job and showing us the truth about behind the crimes, for example. And this has to be one normal thing that people need to know from the all over every media, but they don't show. And this is dangerous, and they don't understand it. And who is behind that? Often leftists. And this make me like upset, and I can't stand. I have to say something against left.
And this is very dangerous because, for instance, when the Danish public didn't hear the truth about what happened to Louisa Vestager and Maren Ullern, when then, you know, on the right wing, conspiracy theories started. So they would connect all sorts of things with what happened in Morocco and use the girls' pictures on other crimes and so on. Because if you don't trust your government, you will start to say, oh, everything you say is a lie. And then, you know, this is what happens in totalitarian countries. You have conspiracy theories. You know, you don't know what is the truth, and before we had different media. We had left-wing media or right-wing media, central media, and they would all agree upon what happened yesterday. Then we can have different analysis to what should happen or what should be the solution to the problem. But now we don't agree on what happened yesterday. We have totally different media, and this is a very dangerous and polarized situation where people, you know, we need to know what is happening. And for instance, in Denmark there was a terror attack. I call it a terror attack, but the Danish police didn't call it a terror attack. Some years ago, a person, a Muslim who had been in jail and who was radicalized or jihadized, whatever you will call it, and he came out and he took an axe. When he came out of prison, he took an axe and he started cutting two youngsters at a tank station, petrol station. And the terrorists, the terrorist police against terrorism were set in, and they were all over that town. But nobody told the public about the fact that this is probably terrorism, that this man did this because of his beliefs in a religion. And the only evidence that we got that it was terrorism is because the man's father gave an interview and said that his son had come out of prison and had been radicalized in prison. So this is just one incident. Nobody died in that attack, but still 2 youngsters were hacked by an axe, and the Danish police and the Danish authorities didn't really tell people what had happened. And when I tell this to them, they don't know that this happened because nobody really talked about what had happened. Because there's a difference of somebody crazy doing something and you don't really know what happened, and then in it being a terrorism attack.
If it's a terrorism attack, it was lonesome wolves.
Yeah.
Lonely wolves.
Yeah.
If it is something done by someone who is ethnically European, then it's a group thing. Yeah. That's how they approach it.
And you told us about terrorist attack, the right-wing terrorist attack, then in Norway. Yeah, in Norway.
Yes. You know, I believe first of all that Europe had a lot of Islamic terror attack. We know only maybe 50%. A lot of like lonely wolves, so-called. You know, the alternative media is writing, and even the one register in internet writing. You know, when they say Allahu Akbar, like the last time it happened in Australia, in Sydney, one converted guy, killed one woman, and it is on record. He is saying Allahu Akbar, nothing else. Like, you know, this time when the Morocco incident, our state minister, I think she came the day after or 2 days later, I don't remember, and she just said it's a like horrific, unlucky crime happened and took 2 lives away. You know, the same day the link is being posted in our comments on Facebook, and I saw it, not the whole video. It is clearly. They are Arabic, they're saying Allahu Akbar, I hear, I don't understand Arabic. My friends sent me a message and they said, this is Islamic terror, this is ISIS. He's saying that this is the head of the non-believer. No, this is the head of the enemy of Allah.
And they
So
also
how
said,
the security service, how the state minister don't know this, and why they keep hiding the truth? Why?
they know this, and in several articles, actually, journalists wrote that Moroccan authorities have not formally said that a Dane has been killed, but the Danish authorities have notified the relatives. So how is that possible? The Moroccan authorities don't know whether a Dane officially is dead, but the Danish authorities have notified the victims' relatives. I mean, how can that be happening in Denmark?
Back to your question about Norway. When this happened, like one guy tried to kill someone in the mosque. Unfortunately, I'm happy that nothing happened there, but he killed his sister. But in the same night, I think it was some hour after this incident, the state minister, the left politicians, right politicians, even they go to the mosque, and his name came up, all things. And this is a good thing. It should be like this.
His information was out there for the public to see who was he and why.
It was not.
I don't know.
Yes,
Is that the case?
And it was not clear, everything.
Yeah.
But in other case in Morocco, everything was clear. There were a video.
Yeah.
There were an explanation.
And the women were found beheaded. How can you lie about what had happened to them? The women's head was not, it was separated from their bodies. You know that these women were beheaded. How can you say marks or damages? This is just for me to. I think lies, but of course, this is also something that I could be prosecuted for.
Seriously disrespectful.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's disrespectful to the people and to the profession, but doesn't seem to bother them anymore.
We can give the mic to the audience. I think after that, if you have more questions or where is
he was first and then
Marit, can you give microphone to them? Yes.